Elias is a middleware for adaptive music. I never got to play around with it, but now I finally did, and I made a quick video about it to show what I've been doing with it. Now, if you watched Adaptive Music Adventures, you know that I prefer horizontal techniques, but Elias makes an attempt at getting the most out of vertical techniques. One of the ways they're doing that is by giving you the ability to set fade times or crossfade times for every individual element. Now for this music, I was imagining a game where you're climbing a tower, and the higher you go, the music intensity rises with you. And then along the way, there's maybe some combat and, just use your imagination. Now, so far, I've just been transitioning by changing the slider. Typically with electronic music and percussion, it may work fine using very quick fade times. But I feel that for this music, it could definitely use some stingers to cover up those transitions. And that's where action presets come in handy. Now in this game you're imagining, we've now reached the top floor and we're switching to a new theme. I also created a few levels of intensity here. Just adding a little bit of bass. And then some percussion. One of the action presets that I made for this segment is to go from level 3 to level 2 to get rid of the percussion. So we're now level 3 again, and let's say that the action kicks in another gear at level 4. And then level 5 is where I simply fade out most of the synth and just keep the bass. Now we could use one of the presets to go back to level 1. Similarly, I also created a preset to go back to the first theme, and that sounds like this. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty nice. there's a few funny things I came across, and those were a little confusing at first. Right, so these vertical columns are called tracks. On the level of a track, you can set fade times. Now for the pad, I set fade times of 6 seconds. If I now fade out to silence, it's going to take a nice 6 seconds to fade out. And then similarly, I can go back to level 1 and it's going to fade that in, and it's going to take 6 seconds. It's a pad, so if you want to fade it in, it's usually going to sound good with a very long fade time. But then, for some reason, when I switch to the second theme, this happens. It just almost instantly jumped to the second theme. It didn't use those fade times. Back to level 1, and again, it's almost instantaneous. And that's because, for some reason, it's using the fade settings from the transition settings and completely ignoring the fade times that were set individually. Anyway, here's another thing. I defined a few action presets in this project. And using a set level event, I defined the theme and the level where it needs to jump to. Now, I think it's pretty realistic when you're implementing this music is that you want to try out a few things and add some levels and remove some levels. But if you already have some action presets defined, it's important to know that the levels that were referenced are not going to automatically update. So the moment you start messing around with new levels, you're also going to have to go back to your action presets and mess around with those as well. So here's another little thing that was a little confusing at first. The level selection strategy, I have set here to closest below. Suppose I'm playing at level 4. Closest below means that it's going to play the one above it. Which I guess it makes sense if you think in terms of levels. Level 2 is below level 4. But I was for sure a little confused about that initially. Anyway, that was a quick look at Elias. Maybe one of the things I should mention is that the free version comes with quite a bit of restrictions. So if you really want to play around and dig a little deeper, I'm sure you can get a non-commercial license. Now, the core concept of this thing is pretty cool. If vertical layering is your thing, you can definitely do some cool stuff with it. The learning curve is very gentle. They have a bunch of videos on their website. Anyway, that was a quick look at Elias. See you next time. Bye.